What's up, guys? Good to be back. I know it's been a minute, but I've been on set. And I just want to tell you a couple of things. I just want to let you know how it went on set and the things that I learned, because I learned something on every set I'm on. And learned a lot on this one, so let's roll the bumper and see what we got. All right, so I guess we'll just start at the beginning. This was a movie called Forest for the Trees. What are my positions on it? I was the assistant director and a producer on this feature. How it came to me was originally this was supposed to be shot in LA, and they've been trying to shoot it for about 10 years, which is just a ridiculous amount of time to try to shoot something, but it kept coming up with roadblocks. We were supposed to shoot it, and I was just supposed to be the visual effects guy about 2 years ago down in LA, but then forest fires made that not possible because we were supposed to be shooting in the forest. And then when we rescheduled again, COVID hit. So yeah, there was a lot of problems. It almost seemed like a doomed production. When one of the actors, Danny O'Reilly, told the director, Nate Gresham, let's just move this thing to Portland and have this guy hire a crew. And so that's what happened. And it all came together marvelously. The people that were brought up from LA were awesome, and the people that were here locally in Portland that I hired mixed perfectly, and it was just one of those productions where everybody just got along really well. There was one little case that I'll tell you more about here a little bit later. I'm not naming names, obviously, but I'll just tell you the scenario so you can avoid that scenario. But yeah, so that's basically what happened. They brought up the talent. I hired a script supervisor. I hired a camera op, a director of photography. I hired a key grip. I hired a second AC, some PAs, a sound guy, along with various other crews like stunt coordinators and stuff like that were brought up from Los Angeles. So first day, we start out, we're ready to go, but I have to pull double duty because we don't have a sound guy for the first 2 days because he was double booked. And I have pretty good sound equipment, but where I lack is in lavalier microphones. And so that's where trouble started on day one, because what I had and what the director had were very similar. We had a lot of these Rode wireless Go's, which, as I already knew, these aren't really pro-grade gear, and I was hoping it would work for 2 days, but that wasn't so much. This Comica actually works really well. I was actually very surprised. It never had any problems. It never lost connection. So go Comica. Good job on that. But where the Rode Wireless Go's had problems is we started out the first day in a bus, and the bus had solar panels on it, and it was interfering because this is on a frequency that is well used with a lot of different devices, and you can't change it. We were cutting out from distances like this far. It couldn't transmit. It was just getting scrambled. And so we had to find workarounds around that. The Comica is at 2-to-1. So we had to put two people on one channel, which is not ideal. And then just try to mix and match with the best case scenarios with the roads that we could. And we did the best we could on day one, but that was day one. Day two was a little better because we were outside. One thing we were shooting this shot, and I should explain real quick. This was unlike anything I've ever worked on before. This was a found footage movie. So it was a found footage horror movie, and I've never worked on a found footage movie, and I thought, well, great, it seems like that should be easier. No big lighting setups, no big, production sets that we have to do. We just go around and film stuff in the woods. Problem is on the shoot, we were supposed to be shooting as if we were different cameras shooting a production company who's out in the woods doing ghost hunting stuff. And so there was like 7 different cameras that we used practically, and then there was 7 different prop cameras, so mixing all those together was just a hassle. When they're walking through the woods, they had these big packs on with these prop cameras facing them, but the cameras weren't good enough quality, so we'd have to swap them out and put on a real camera on a rig, and it was just really logistically a nightmare, but we pulled it off. The director really, I've never seen somebody so prepared, but I guess with 10 years, you have time to prepare. Yeah, so going forward, that's what I'm talking about, so you kind of get an idea of what the movie is. On day 2, we had this scene where the bus was supposed to pull up into the forest, where it's supposed to park at. And the only problem is when we shot through, on the other side there was no trees or anything. And so the original idea was to green screen it until we realized that we had a Swiss Army knife of a key grip, who is Lauren, that you've probably seen on this channel before. And he rigged up something with C-stands that was amazing, and it just looked like a bunch of trees on the other side of the windows. And so that was awesome. I'm not going to walk down every day of shooting because that would get long and tedious, because without having a bunch of footage, my original plan was to take this Canon R6 I have up here and do a bunch of BTS, but when you're in the thick of things, you just don't have time, so I just got a bunch of cell phone footage. All right, so by the 3rd day, we had our sound guy step up, and he was an amazing sound guy. The reason I'm not naming people on here is because I don't know who wants me to name them and who doesn't. It's easy to find out if you just go like on Instagram or something. You can see who everybody is. So anyways, sound guy got there and still used a lot of my stuff, but the lavalier set was much better. We used some Sennheiser G3s and some Countryman lavs, which just made all the difference in the world. And if you haven't heard of those before, those things can shoot in any condition. You can change the channels on them, and they're amazing. And so that made our life a whole lot easier, so I didn't have to think about sound anymore. I could focus on assistant directing working and producer work, as it were. So this is basically what Basecamp looked at. The audio's crap, so I'm just going to talk over it. This is the charging tent. This is where we charged up all the stuff that we had to use for production. That's where things needed to go when they're charged, and those tables are for charged and uncharged products. That's Amanda Jean and Gray, our nice camera op there, and that was Nate inside there as our director. Over here, we have the RV, which is where people changed, obviously, and, just where some of the actors were able to get comfortable. Our sound guy to the left there, laving people up. This is kind of production headquarters. This is where we would meet, where the board was, where we saw the shots we needed for the day, what shots were done, and so that was kind of production central over there. Then there was some places over to the left there. That's lovely LJ waving at us. This is Crafty off to the right. This is where all the snacks and stuff were. We ate like kings because our stunt coordinator, Joe, was also a fantastic cook, so shout out to Joe. We ate ridiculous London broil some days, homemade like I've never eaten this good on set before. It was fantastic. So that was about day 3. This is what the set took form in by day 9. This you can see it's just a nightmare of cords over there in the charging tent. It got kind of a mess. Amanda was doing a great job straightening that up. That's the Amanda Jean on Instagram. Then that tent over right there, that's the makeup tent that we put up once we had heavy makeup stuff. There was none of the makeup in the tent when I was filming because the makeup artist took them home. But that was also the scene of something that was a little dramatic that I'll tell you about here in a second. This was after that had happened, obviously. This is our sound guy getting guys laved up, and everything else is pretty similar. You can kind of see the inside of the trailer here. So this is kind of what the inside of the RV looked like by day 9. Everything's kind of all over the place. And the rest of everything, let's take a look at the board. The board, it's kind of a mess at this point because there's shots all over the place. Day 9, we were 3 days away from the end of the shoot. Things were getting hectic. Everything else was pretty much the same. It's just, more cluttered, more messy. We also decided one day that we would get a skeleton crew together and film some interior bus stuff that was supposed to be shot at night and do so before the main crew got there. And so we blacked out all the windows with Duvetine, as you can see here. We have Maddie up there doing some monster sounds, obviously me filming. And I'll let you listen to what that sounds like here. Also, we have Lauren as our key grip there. He's got to black out the little area. We had to leave a little area for our actor Cameron to get in, and so Lauren would jump in there with some pads and block it out. Action! Oh! All right, so day about 6 is our heavy makeup day. We had a lot of prosthetics we had to put on one of our main actors, Dan Kyle, and he was like the main featured creature. So we had a lot of makeup that we needed done that day that we didn't think we could do ourselves. So we hired somebody, and first off, he was about 2 hours late. It was a communication error at the time, and it put us back about 2 hours. At the time, though, I could see the miscommunication, even though it seemed like it shouldn't have happened. I was able to chalk it up and say, okay, you know what, no problem. There's a scene in the movie, let me go back for a second, where Vinny has to blow a fireball at the creatures and scare them off. Here's a small clip of the behind the scenes of that. And so yeah, we practiced earlier in the day, and to do that, he had to use some 151 alcohol. And so we had Dan. It took like 4 or 5 hours for Dan to get all. This is what Dan looks like here, with all the prosthetics on and with the process happening. It took 4 or 5 hours to put all that stuff on. So we went and shot at a different location, which is this cave location that you can kind of see here. This is a daytime version of it. They also shot part of Twilight in this location, so it was cool we were able to shoot there. So we shoot that. It takes a few hours, and we come back. It's time to shoot the fireball scene. We're all jacked. We're ready to go. We look at Dan. Dan looks awesome. There was also 2 other makeup artists. I haven't talked to them, so I'm not going to name them. And they all did an amazing job. So we come back. We're all happy. It's time to shoot the fireball scene, and then it's time to shoot the big creature scene. So we go to get the 151, and we can't find it. And Vinny's sure he knows exactly where he put it back because we had just been using it. So we're looking for a good 45 minutes, and Lauren comes up to me and says, you know, the makeup guy, offered a shot of rum earlier. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. So I walk up to the tent, and I said, hey, let me see which alcohol you're drinking. We're trying to blow a fireball. I just want to see if it's high enough proof that we can use yours instead. Not leading on to what I'm trying to figure out. And he said, okay, I don't know where I put the bottle. And I said, okay, no problem. Let's find it. Didn't want to be accusatory yet, even though I was already mad because he'd been drinking on set. So yeah, he said, well, what do you need it for? I said, we're trying to blow a fireball. He goes, well, I have 99% alcohol. And I said, okay, show me that. So we go inside, and it's rubbing alcohol. And I said, no, show me the effing alcohol that you've been drinking. You know, at this time, I can kind of see the writing on the wall. And he says, I brought a cup from home. Oh, it just made me mad. I said, that's BS. You stole from us. You're effing fired. Go home. So I walk down to the director, and I say, I fired your makeup artist. And he goes, what? What do you mean you fired my makeup artist? I said, I fired the makeup artist. I can't prove that he stole the bottle of alcohol, but he is plaster drunk. Because by the time I went back up there, it was pretty obvious he was plaster drunk. The reason nobody noticed it before is because we had 50 other things on our minds, and we were all over the place trying to do things. So we just thought he was being overly friendly and excited because we were focused on other things, like I said. So I walked back up, and he seemed kind of confused, and I said, I can't prove that you stole from us, but what I can prove is you are S-faced drunk. While you're supposed to be working, you're fired. It's time to go home. I'm sorry. So we made sure he had a ride home because, obviously I didn't want him driving in his condition. But I had never dealt with something like that on a set before, and it really, I took it personally because this is somebody that I'd used in the past, and it was a black eye on what I thought was a very, very cohesive crew that I had put together on the Portland side, and he just came and gave us a black eye, even though at the end of the day it really wasn't. So basically, one of the makeup artists came all the way from Seattle, which is about a 3-hour drive from where we were. And she goes, I don't want that to look bad on me. I met him yesterday. And so basically we were able to talk her into staying the night to do more makeup to the next day, as well as the other makeup artist who went and got all the makeup that the makeup artist that we fired took, including some stuff that wasn't his to take. And so, yeah, the other makeup artist really stepped up. And yeah, I can never tell them. I wish I could shout them out here, but because I haven't asked to use their names, I'm not going to. I can never tell you guys how much I appreciated you guys saving us, because that was a situation I don't think any of us thought was going to happen. Nobody likes firing people, and if you do, there's something wrong with you, because it's not fun firing people. I never like firing people, especially while on set in front of other people. It's just not a fun thing to do. But you have to let it be known to the rest of your cast and crew that behavior like that is not going to be accepted. So it's something that has to be done. You need to do it tastefully. You don't need to berate the person. They've already made the mistake. They're going to beat themselves up enough. So I just told him he was fired and left it at that. And yeah, lesson learned. Another one of the unsung heroes in the makeup department was Amanda. She put this really nice gash on Maddie, our actor's face, when the makeup artist couldn't be there anymore. And it turned out amazing. Here's kind of a time lapse of her doing that. And she really stepped up. She was our second AD, so she was my assistant, but she did so much more than that. She was basically in charge of base camp. Anytime we needed any of the props, it was always, hey, Amanda, do you know where this is? Hey, Amanda, do you know where that is? And she went above and beyond and was awesome. So like I said earlier, I was assistant director and one of the producers on this film, but in post, I'm also doing the visual effects stuff. So here's a little behind the scenes of the visual effects that I did for one of the shots. Again, this was shot on a cell phone, so the audio is terrible, so I'm going to just talk over it. So basically, we are lighting up a green screen, trying to get flat light. There's also headlights pointing out, so we had to use a lot of light. That was an Aperture 120D that we're using as a hair light up there. On the front of the car, I wish they turned the camera, but they didn't. There was an Aperture 300D. And the reason we had to use one, even though there was headlights, is because the headlights were coming, as headlights do, in two different sections, and our subject was in front. So we had to fill in the middle part because he was so close and use an Aperture 300D to match the intensity. We had some GBM and some small video lights lighting up the green screen to make sure that it was all filled out and nice. This was our, at this time, our monitor, although we switched out the Aperture monitor for a small HD video monitor that I had. It's a laptop battery on the back and a Holyland that's running the wireless video transmission. It worked very well for monitoring. It wouldn't work so well for like pulling focus because it was HDMI. HDMI has too much latency, but it worked really well for everything else. And it's a product that I'm actually going to look into here soon. Here's the front of the car. You can see with the big 300D there in the middle, shining on our actor, Zach. And then, so basically what's supposed to be happening in this scene is Zach's our Native American, he's leading the creatures basically, and he's supposed to float up and, you know, kind of be creepy and just float in the air there. This is a shot behind the scenes of what it looked like. So we also wanted his hair to move around, so I used a leaf blower to kind of blow on him. And then we got a reverse shot of the actors who were standing in front of him. So that way we have all our elements separated and we can do with them as we wanted. Just in case it didn't work out because there was a lot of moving parts, we did film one practically. And yeah, just so we had a backup. So yeah, that's about it. I want to give a big thanks to my man, Nate Gresham. He was the director on this project. He brought me on originally. I think there's more to come from the two of us. We work very well together. I'm going to use him as my assistant directors on some of my projects. And yeah, I think the two of us work very well together. And I'm actually going to LA here soon to see him and some of the other cast and crew and to have a couple meetings down there. And yeah, maybe I'll take you guys along, show you what's going on in LA right now. But yeah, I had a great time on this set. It was a great experience. I think it's going to be a very good movie as well. And I'll let you guys know when it's coming out. It's called Forest for the Trees. It's a found footage horror movie. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Yeah, that's all I got for you today. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button down below. If you haven't subscribed here yet, I promise I will be putting out more content than I have in the last month, but I've been busy, as I've shown here. If you got any questions about anything else I've discussed here, or just anything video related, go ahead and hit me in the comments below, as long as you remember, it's not a competition. As I've shown today, let's all rise in this business together. We need each other. I'll see you guys next time.